Before this video starts, can you all tell me in the comments if the sound quality is a little bit better? I just got a new microphone and I want to know if the sound quality is a little bit clearer than before. Sorry, let's start with the main topic of the video. Let me ask you all a question, dear viewer. When you have a large audience, what is your biggest responsibility in your opinion? Is it to keep them entertained, or is it to always listen to your community? If you've answered one of those things, then you're correct. But it is also important that you keep your community safe, for example by not making product placements that could be potentially dangerous. I'll be honest, today's YouTuber is a complicated case. Since today I criticize a YouTuber whose content I actually like. That YouTuber's name is Dexter White. I'm already pretty excited about this video, but before we get to the main topic, time for the shoutout. And today's shoutout goes to Draken. He made my new thumbnail border, which looks very beautiful. His content revolves around creatures of Sonaria, and he posts some well-produced gameplay videos. Also, he is very active on his channel, so go and give him a sub. He is pretty new to YouTube. And with that, let's get to the video's main topic. So first of all, let me explain who Dexter White even is. Dexter White is a horror-themed YouTuber. His main focus on his Dexter White channel is reviewing games in the FNAF fangame scene. And I'll be honest, his videos are very good. They are very well edited, they have a nice moderation, and him being able to make content with this quality while being moderately active is something I can honestly just praise. So going off of that, you might be wondering why I am even making a critique video on him even though I like his content. Well, in his newest video, as of writing the script, he had a product placement. But that in itself isn't bad as well. It just means extra money for the YouTuber. But the company he promoted is what puzzles me. He decided to make a product placement for TEMU. I personally think that promoting TEMU is a very bad idea. And I decided to make this video as a kind of PSA, since I want to inform you of the dangers that TEMU has, while criticizing that particular product placement that Dexter White made. But let me make this clear, do not go over to Dexter White's channel to send hate towards him. I do not condone any of that. As I've said, he didn't do anything wrong otherwise. He just made a bad product placement. And with that, onto the criticism.
Today's video is sponsored by TEMU, baby! Let's be real here. We all know what TEMU is.
Yeah, I know what TEMU is, and that is why it puzzles me that you decided to make an advertisement for them, since there are quite a few very big issues with that company, and I mean actually dangerous issues.
TEMU is a great online store to get anything you could think of for a price that you can afford.
That is a very bloomy way of describing it, because in all honesty, TEMU is very run-of-the-mill. It is following in the footsteps of sites like Wish.com or AliExpress. They're basically giant sites of Chinese copies of brand articles from brands like Gucci or Samsung or Apple or even Xiaomi or Huawei. Those products are often very low in terms of quality. For example, the phones often have an outdated version of stock Android. They're sometimes even running on Android Go edition, which is only applied when a phone has less than 1 GB of RAM. And no, it isn't even worth it to get them as cellular-only devices, since most of them still run on 3G, even though 3G signals are being turned off by now in most places. And regarding headphones, they often have terrible audio quality, as well as having sharp edges that sometimes could even cut the insides of your ear. Overall, the things that are sold there are just land waste. I really recommend S'mores' videos, since he actually goes over the scams of Wish devices.
I personally use TEMU all the time. In fact, all of the sound panels I have put up around my office, I bought off TEMU for an outrageously low price, and I'm gonna be real with you, I couldn't be happier with them.
I actually doubt that. Most YouTubers don't really use what they advertise, and also those mats that you bought probably won't last that long looking at the price, especially since it is on a 90% discount. You know, high discounts normally hint that the product itself wasn't worth as much as the original price, i.e. it's a scam. And another risk right there, cloth articles from those cheap companies like TEMU often have chemicals that could cause skin irritations. I have even seen cases of medical burns.
TEMU offers guaranteed delivery with every purchase you make. TEMU also guarantees price protection. If the price of an item you purchased goes down, you can request a partial refund from TEMU and they'll refund you the difference. And if you aren't happy with the purchase, they offer guaranteed 90-day returns for any eligible item for a full refund.
And here we go. There's a lot to unpack here. The guaranteed delivery is not true right off the bat, since TEMU has a notice that says that some articles may not exist at all. And also, if something you have bought potentially harms someone, you as the customer will be charged, since when you order something, you buy directly out of the factory and you automatically become the importer of that product. That means that all the responsibility gets transferred to you. Also, since his next point is about the logins, let's get into that. TEMU is a sister company of Pinduoduo, the PDD Holdings Inc. Both of them are owned by Colin Huang, and Pinduoduo used to be one of the biggest apps in terms of e-commerce, until they got banned out of all the Western app stores. Why? Well, it had been proven that the app was malware, and with that I mean that it looked through the text messages and the gallery. And with TEMU, well, let's take a look into what is in the cookies and data policy. Quoting from Google right here. TEMU collects extensive user data, including contact lists, location data, device information, payment details, government ID, shopping history, photos, interests, and social media links, going beyond the typical e-commerce practices. And if you're asking why TEMU needs so much data, that's simple. They needed to give the data away to other people, maybe even to sell it to third parties. And yeah, there have been cases where people's bank information was stolen after buying off TEMU.
So my bank details got sold to the black market by TEMU.
She's not lying. Currently, I'm going through the same thing. I don't know if it was because of TEMU, but the situation happened right after I made some purchases from TEMU, and I was already sketched about the website, but I've heard good stuff about it. But I checked my account like last Friday. I was at $1. $1. And I called my bank immediately. I wasn't getting like monthly charges. It all happened at once, and they broke it down to like $23, $5, $1. Like, it was broken down, so my bank didn't tell me nothing. Next thing you know, $500 gone. And I just had gotten paid, so luckily I paid my bills. But I'm like, this is not a joke. Like, you have to be careful. And
aside from that, how their workers are also treated is also very problematic. So in China, there's a certain workflow called the 996 workflow. What does it mean? 6 days a week from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. And even worse, some people even speak of a so-called 9-12-7 workflow. 7 days a week from 9 a.m. to 12 a.m. And if you ask if people were already harmed because of that, of course. In 2021, there have been 2 deaths because of that. Both of them worked for Pinduoduo. One of them did commit suicide, while the other one collapsed of exhaustion while going back home. Is that workflow a violation of human rights? Of course it is. And speaking of human rights violations, there is a slight chance that the stuff that comes from TEMU was made with slave labor. On Global Slavery Index, it was proven that over 11% of modern slaves are located in China. Especially bad is a place called Xinjiang, where many of Chinese minorities are held against their will in rehabilitation camps, where human rights violations are the norm. From forced labor to torture methods, all of that happens in those camps. And there could be a chance that some of the articles that you have ordered were made in Xinjiang. That is of course illegal, and it normally shouldn't even be shipped to the US. But there are 2 loopholes that TEMU has found. The first one being that TEMU doesn't say on the site where the products are made. And shipping to the USA only have to be noted when the item costs $800 and upwards. Also, TEMU is very bad for the environment environment due to its high carbon emissions from air-based shipping, excessive individual packaging, and its business model promoting a throwaway culture. And some of the official symbols, like the CE sign with which you are allowed to sell in the EU, have been proven to be fake at many times. So the products could be badly processed, or they could be bad for the environment. What is sold on there is also a big problem. For example, dog collars with electroshockers, which is illegal, or selling art from other artists without their permission, or, and that is very gross, selling Nazi symbols. I'm not kidding, they were selling replica of Nazi symbols. Case in point, TEMU just doesn't care. It is actively dangerous for you, and that is why I think that we shouldn't support a platform like that.
Go to the link in my description and enter my code and claim your discount today before it's gone. And thank you to TEMU for sponsoring today's video and allowing me to play the silly bear game for a living.
Okay, to wrap things up, let me say this. Dexter White, if you see this, I have nothing against you personally. I just find it disappointing that you didn't think twice about making a TEMU product placement while being aware with the size of your audience. And as a lesson to you all as a viewer, if you have a large audience, maybe think twice when you get an offer for a product placement. Product placements in general are something good, but with something like TEMU or Shein, it is not a good idea to promote them at all. But anyways, that's it for today's video. I will now credit the people who helped me behind the scenes. Thank you Clown2008, Indominus Pack, Spino Blue, Spinozilla 2005 and Unfortunate for making the character stills for my channel. Thank you Flame Plasmanium for making my channel's intro. Thank you Gatorboy for making the official Cretaceous Critiques logo. Thank you Draken and Indominus Pack for making my channel's profile picture. And thank you Draken for making my thumbnail border. Thanks for watching, I'll see you all in the next video. Stay cold and goodbye.